And welcome to Alexandria Has Risen. Basically, I've done a lot of deep diving into Alexandria because it's one of my teaching tools. I teach people a lot about the universe and philosophy because I'm very interested in it, and I've been practicing it for a long time, and it's kind of like, a skill I picked up after doing live streaming and customer service and stuff like that. So Alexandria has risen. A lot of people have heard Alexandria has fallen, but Alexandria has risen is a little bit different of a theory, and it has to do with a little bit more truth and an enlightening topic on Alexandria. Alexandria, first of all, is a library and college. College meaning this was a place where very smart people would go, because back in the day there wasn't really a place to get educated. If you wanted to get educated, you would just go out and get educated. You would go to where you could be educated, and that would be a place of information. And a place of information was the library. So I personally believe that Alexandria has risen because I recently heard Alexandria has fallen. So Alexandria, because it was such an advanced college first time, it got to soul science level, and it almost got to biotech level, where today's pharmaceutical industry would be the equivalent to what I believe Alexandria was already, way back when it was burnt. When it was burnt down because they believed that they were already computer hosted their own souls and their entire library in digitized format. So to redact it and to remove it, and also I want to say in pre-computed format. Pre-computed format is throning. When you get into pre-computed format, you create undeletable content. Basically, pre-computed means every potential option and every potential option that was and is up to the point is all stored and saved. And the only thing being created is new moments. And that's it. And new theorems. New theorems of what could be. New potential moments. And that's all there is. Everything else is, infinities and finite infinities, right? So Alexandria broke the barrier where I would say they were interdimensionally equally dimensional. That means that they extrapolated biotech. Biotech, that's a super big one. Understanding the universe to lowest factorial ingredient and understanding your body to all parallels. That might sound impossible to some people, but that's more of a self-defense mechanism. You want to keep your true soul in a universe where it's infinitely redacted. One cannot know that which makes the universe, and one cannot know that which makes me, because that would make me extrapolatable. And if I'm extrapolatable, then people can read my mind, and I'm no longer proprietary. That kind of stuff. So a lot of you might have de-resonance with what I'm saying, but they're not talking about in a term of super advanced, infinity, souls like us de-resonators. That would be you were naturally de-resonating because of a self-defense mechanism, in my opinion, because under the universe is what you believe. The way you feel about things matters. So what I want to talk about here too, the Alexandria has risen. They hosted themselves in an upper dimension. Basically, they broke through somehow, in a way where somebody hacked their computer. Imagine having a computer terminal and you made something, right? Or you're making things. And this is back in the day. There wasn't all of this out in public yet. Electricity was barely invented, if at all. And I'm talking about underground. I'm not talking about rewind a little bit. We're gonna go to Egypt era and talk about Atlantis. Atlantis already has electricity. They're famed to be in civilization, utopian recreationism and exploration to find non-utopia to help them become to utopia. So it's basically from chaos is order. So they were looking for chaos that has bred life, because within infinite chaos, and infinite mutations and infinite permutations becomes life. Kind of like, evolution theory is like a microbacteria spawns and then it starts, fading away. A bunch of microbacteria empires have risen and fallen because they weren't strong enough, and then eventually one comes out and dominates and lives and thrives and then creates and mutates into something else. And that's recreationism from chaos. From chaos comes order. And with the order, the reorder, that's very advanced civilizations like Atlantis. They want to reorder, but they also want to preserve phenotype. So they want to get it. They kind of want to get a kickstart. So they want to help out. One of the number one threats that the previous major species was destroyed by on this planet was a big giant comet. So a big thing to put in is some energy conductors, i.e. maybe potentially pyramids. Pyramids are a very obvious thing to shove a whole bunch of particles into in order to alternate the gravitational alignment of Earth, to keep it, not too close to the sun or closer to the sun, depending, and to get it out of comet's way that they're predicting is going to hit in 100,000 years. So, speed up their rotation, 1%, and it misses, every day for a week. That kind of stuff all adds up because they're looking at things at a super far away space and time. But let's go here. I had a dream the other day where I was at the World Trade Centers, and I believe the World Trade Centers have risen. The reason why I believe the World Trade Centers have risen is because they are in an upper dimensional space-time now. They may be parallel with ours. And really what it is this post here on Reddit really got me thinking. And it's actually coming from Clash Royale, but it's about neutrons. Neutron beams. All right, neutrons can collide with protons, electrons, all right, and alter the course of it. If a photon hits it, like some light from the sun, it alters the course of it. It actually heats it up. Like, you can feel this in real life because you're made out of protons, neutrons, electrons. Well, you should be, but you might not be. You could be remote controlling protons, neutrons, and electrons from a parallel clone universe, but that's besides the point. What I'm trying to say is that light does collide with what makes you up. But what I wanted to point out here is, I said in here, personally, I see many forms of hacking like what you're talking about. I believe that it's confirmed Alexandria has risen in upper dimensional space-time, hosted. And the World Trade Centers still stand. Upper dimensions redact from here, so no one hacks and we can play life fair. And that's what I'm talking about, is anyone control a neutron or electron collider. Anyone control an EMP, right? But not necessarily so because of in pre-computed time. With pre-computed time, we can actually do something I was talking about here on Reddit yesterday, and I'm going to call it overgearing. Okay, this one right here. Basically, they were conducting an experiment on potential aliens here, and they were shooting rockets up into the space, and their software went down as soon as the launch happened. Like here it's about to happen right here. Like they're going to launch, and all of their software went down. And I believe that's like a neutron or an electron EMP. See right there, everything just shuts off. That is transistor electron replacement. They just took all of the electrons and like shoved it out of the machine. And then after the rocket, basically they were trying to record an alien spaceship potentially up in the clouds that they had sight on. That's what they believe. That's what they were talking about here. And if not an alien, more so like a higher group of humanoids or humans, like Illuminati or something like that. And what's funny here is, bam, he gets his electrons back. It starts to reboot. So that could be spoofed with a kill switch, but I'm actually in belief of it because these guys are like military, mercenary kind of people, and they're actually pretty smart. I don't know why you would do that, but basically I said if this is an alien encounter or a more advanced human encounter, a micro-controlled EMP, you slam a bunch of electrons into their technology and it goes offline depending on where you hit it. Same thing with like neutrons. If you throw a bunch of neutrons in it, neutrons are heavier than electrons. So it might take more electrons, but it still does the job. Electrons are smaller and can phase through matter easier. So if you either way, if you send a giant field of neutrons like at light speed through their technology, it's going to mess it all up. So what I was talking about here is if you have three-dimensional particle awareness, if you're doing the exact same thing as they are, like let's say you have a whole bunch of protons, neutrons, electrons inside of like superposition, inside like a little device that just houses them there, right? If they send a whole bunch of protons, neutrons, electrons at you in EMP format to try and disrupt your technology, you can do it right back to your own technology. So then the stasis is exactly the same at all moments. So basically the EMP would go and phase right through you because you counter EMP it with an even smaller dose that's perfectly aligned to unscramble it. And I call that overgearing to maintain a what if not EMP. So it has to do with particle positioning, omnipresence. You need a three-dimensional particle scanning machine. Basically, you need X-ray, and you need a lot of it. Like, it can't just be, like, right around you, because if it comes at you at the speed of light, for example, right, you can't really react fast enough. But thank you guys for watching. I'll be back. Peace.